I don't know why we call it rush hour, because the one thing you can't do is rush. Have you ever been in rush hour traffic as a driver or passenger and noticed that there's always one driver, usually a man, who thinks that everyone should get out of the way, cars should part like the Red Sea and let him through because he is more important than everyone else. So he blows his horn, makes his hand gestures, flashes his lights, and even shouts at other motorists who can't even hear him. It can be quite funny to watch, but it's not quite so funny if you work for someone like that. In the 1950s, two heart specialists came up with the idea that certain types of behaviours and characteristics seemed to be linked to increased risk of heart disease. They noticed that it was the people who wanted to change the world and achieve great things who seemed to be at higher risk, whereas those who wanted to go with the flow and were a bit more laid back, they had a smaller risk. Today we have labels for these personality types and we call them Type A and Type B. There is an advantage to being Type A because it can help a person achieve their goals, right wrongs and challenge things for good. Nothing wrong with that. The problem for the Type A personality is that the world does not always want to cooperate. The thousands of other motorists in the rush hour will not get out of the way or go the speed that our Type A man wants. You can take a test called a psychometric test. Psychometric means measuring the mind to determine whether you're a Type A or a Type B personality. However, to save you the trouble, I can do a quick test to show you how you can do some self-assessment to determine your personality type. Which way round should this be? This way or that way? This way or that way? When I've done this live with an audience, I've had some very strong reactions. Some people are adamant it should be one particular way, and that is the right way. Others are convinced that it should be the other way, and that's the right way. Some people are so convinced that their way is correct that they've even been in other people's houses and turned it round. Now, the way to handle the results of this test is to realise that there is no right way to hang a roll on a bathroom wall. The issue is whether it matters to you. If it matters, you're leaning towards Type A. If you couldn't care less, you're leaning towards Type B. There, I've saved you the time and the money of filling in a questionnaire. Everyone can suffer from stress, but the Type A personality is what we call stress prone. The risk to your health increases if you're the kind of person who wants to change the world. But before you start criticising yourself, the stress risk is not simply because you have a Type A personality. It's not because you want the world to go your way. There is what we call a toxic core right at the centre of Type A behaviour. Let me put it like this. I want the world to go my way, and if it doesn't, I will get mad and angry. It's that last bit which hides the stress risks. There is now a huge amount of modern research about the role that personality plays in stress, but there are plenty of ancient characters who also illustrate the point. One of Jesus' favourite places to visit was the home of two sisters and a brother called Martha, Mary and Lazarus. On one such visit he was teaching at their home, and Martha was working hard on the catering and the hospitality side of things. Martha's frustration built up so much that she asked Jesus to tell her sister to stop listening to him, get up and help with the catering. Can you imagine? She was so frustrated, she even told Jesus what to do. There's nothing wrong with hospitality, and there's nothing wrong with catering. Jesus praised hospitality when he was at another person's house. The problem was that Martha's Type A personality had blinded her to what was important, which was to listen as the Son of God was speaking in her own home. God was visiting her. In fact, he had not long to live. Not very long after this, Jesus and his friends are in an olive grove when a large group of soldiers come to arrest him. His friend Peter does not want this to happen, so in his frustration and anger, he takes out a sword and hacks off someone's ear. You may know the feeling, even though you probably won't carry a sword. Both Peter and Martha are showing Type A characteristics. They want the world to go their way, and when it doesn't, they get mad. Don't get me wrong, Jesus wanted type A characters to become world changers, but he was not happy about the hacking off people's ears as a methodology. Jesus' reaction was to heal the man's ear. In contrast, there are two type B personalities who were very close to Jesus. They were both called Mary. One was his mother, who even as a very young woman showed deep trust when she received the world-changing news that she was going to be the mother of God's Son. There is a perfect summary of type B responses when she says, "I am the Lord's servant. Let everything you've said happen to me." Now, a type A response would be more like, "The world is my servant. I will make everything happen." The second Mary is Martha's sister. She sat at Jesus' feet, drinking in his words. You can also see her another time pouring ointment over him as an act of deep devotion. Jesus praised Mary for making good choices. So how does all this help you explore stress? Well, it will greatly help you in your life if you have an understanding of your own personality. I remember doing some consultancy work for the staff of a radio station, and they were all filling in the type A, type B questionnaire, so I just decided to do my own. I was almost off the scale of type A. This was not a great surprise to me, since as long as I can remember, I've wanted to change the world. And also, as long as I can remember, the world is not being easily cooperating with me. But knowing this about myself helps me play to my strengths in getting jobs done or sorting out problems. And it also helps me spot the warning signs if I'm getting irritated that the world is not going my way. If you want another test for yourself, join the longest queue in the supermarket or the slowest queue at the airport and see how irritated you become. Behind your irritation, you will discover a belief that the world should go your way. And you will also discover that the only person making you angry is you. It's not the checkout person or the older woman who can't find her purse or the flight attendant. It's your beliefs that you are reacting to, and you're making yourself angry. You are also increasing your risk of heart trouble. There is a moment in the life of Jesus of Nazareth when he is walking towards Jerusalem and 10 men with leprosy call out to him for help. They asked him to take pity on them. If you know anything about leprosy, it's a horrible disease, and anyone who had it was labelled unclean. Jesus told them to go show themselves to the priest, and to their amazement, when they got there, the priest pronounced them clean. 9 of them disappear, we don't know where to, but one of them comes back. He had been praising God for his healing, and then he throws himself at Jesus' feet to say, "Thank you." Jesus is pleased with this man and not so pleased with the other 9. His words to the grateful person are interesting. "Your faith," he says, "has made you well." They were all cleaned, but this man was also made well. The action that made a difference in this man's life after his cleansing was his gratitude. He came back and said, "Thank you." There's a phrase that some people use, the attitude of gratitude. I don't particularly like phrases like that, but if it helps you remember the point, take it with you. Take it with you into your car, and instead of getting irritated with other drivers, thank God that you have a car or the freedom to drive. Thank God for the roads. Thank God for the scenery, while keeping your eye on the road if you're driving. Take it with you into the supermarket queue and thank God for the food or whatever money you have in your wallet. Take it with you to the airport, train or tube station and thank God for the chance to travel. Take it with you everywhere so that you can do what Paul encourages you to do and give thanks in all circumstances. But before you think this is another to-do list, which all depends on you, it's not all about your effort. That's just exhausting. It is the Spirit of God who teaches you from the inside out to give thanks.